Take a roll call.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so for roll, I have Penn Gilly,
Here.
Dallas Elliott. Here. Fryer,
Here.
Myers. Here. Donahue,
Here.
Owen. Nowacki,
Here.
Rayburn. Here.
That it?
Yeah.
The next we'll approve the minutes. Everybody had a chance, it's been a while for these minutes, but has everybody had a chance to go over them? Is there any comments or corrections?
Just a minor correction to the spelling of my last name, one T is missing.
Okay. So noted. Is it a mover? So we need to vote. Yeah.
Vote to approve them. So moved. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pete, I'm going to abstain from that because I wasn't at the August 2nd meeting.
Okay. So the next order of business is the improvement project application for the linear park and pathway at West Goddard Street Road. And turn that over to
Yep,
Lisa.
I'll start. Yeah, thank you, Chairman Pengilly and committee members. So this is a linear park and pathway project up at Goddard. For a little bit of reference, Capitol High School, on this picture you can see is kind of that green grass chunk. So just to give you a little bit of frame of reference. This project, originally, you can go to the next one, I think, Joey, thank you. This property was donated from Settlers Irrigation District to the city last year. This has been kind of identified in our pathways plan as well to connect certain areas, and canals have been somewhere that have been really highlighted as a great connection piece. So this was donated in to the city. There's been a master plan done. There's been stakeholder input. The neighborhood is very excited. I believe in your packet, there are letters from neighborhood association and different vested groups. And just to do kind of a brief overview, if you want to go to the next one. It's 3 acres in total. It is about 2,800 feet of pathways, which would be 10-foot wide, really accessible, and would connect essentially all the way from Hyatt Hidden Lakes, all the way to Spalding Ranch, and really create a great connection piece to this bench area. And really create a connection between two really different and yet, you know, I don't mean to say not just green parks, but really different areas that are showing critical open space. And so it would connect from Furcrest all the way over to the east side, which is where the parking lot is with, currently it's a barbecue shack. Yeah, I know, I'm not really sure even what to call it, but little restaurant. And one of the comments and questions that I had for Jason Miller's here, he's our design manager. Is that correct? Okay. And he's been working a lot on this project, and one of the questions I have for him is far on the east side, kind of at the end of the project where it goes into the parking lot, kind of what that connection piece looks like and where the crossings were available. And that's actually on ACHD's plan to redo that entire intersection and create some safer crossings, some different crossings. So I just wanted to make sure to point that out. Within the plan, there is a lot of open space, native plants, pollinator gardens. There's also little areas that the high school is interested in utilizing for some outdoor space. Go ahead and go to the next one, Joey, thank you. Here's just some different amenities that, again, these are not the exact pictures, obviously, but some examples of what would be implemented there, different seating areas. I think as most of you know, or people that have seen that area up there, I was joking earlier that ever since I was even in high school, there's been couches and semi cabs and garbage, all kinds of stuff. So it's I think the neighborhood's super excited to have something that might be just a much better gathering space, connection piece. Let's see, sorry, I can't remember oh yeah, here we go. So conservation criteria, as you all know that we have, this hits 4 of our different areas. So as I said, that connection piece, it does connect 685 additional households to create the 10-minute walk. Thanks, Joey. We'll have a lot of, this is not, a green up or just a turf type area. It will have native plants, different pollinator gardens. There will be an irrigation system that's put in as well as other utilities, power and things like that. The other thing I did want to note that had come up just in conversation was that, was the water going to be coming from the canal specifically? And it's not. So this property doesn't really even have a parcel. It doesn't have any water rights. So it would just be really, and that's one of the reasons too, we're just doing low water. There will not be a lot of water utilized on this property on purpose. But really creates a great native open space in an area that we don't have anything like that. I'm maybe gonna turn it over to you or Jason to see if there's things that I'm missing. Cost maybe was one thing. So you will see in the budget, I believe we originally thought it may be about 2.2. It came in just over 2 million. And that is with a contingency as well. So I believe we built in a 15% contingency. Oh, did we do 20?
Yeah, so it came in the bid actually, Mr. Chairman, Commission members, I think came in at 1.7 something.
Yes.
And then we added the 20% contingency on top of that. So I think Jason's numbers without a contingency, he felt like it was gonna be in that 1.8 to 2 million range. So we hit it pretty close to that. And just to draw some comparisons to some of the other park sites, for example, we're doing Primrose on Gary Lane. That's a $1.1 million project for 1.5 acres. So kind of gives you an idea. That's really our latest one that we're doing. We get a lot of questions from the public on how do we come up with comparing a number, given a number up front, like what we anticipate a green up, what we anticipate an actual park cost being, like as a rule of thumb. And we're trying to get more and more away from that because there's just so many factors that go into how we eventually in our partnership, and I'll give you an example on this one with ACHD. This was held in ACHD's possession on this since January, February timeframe, when we finally got it out of ACHD in September. And there were a number of requirements that we had to adhere to between the interface of the park with the roadway. And so we normally would see a lot of that with some of our park locations. So this one did have some challenges that we needed to adhere to. And so when someone asks like, what's the cost per acre to green something up? We always use a rule of thumb of somewhere between 150 and 200,000 an acre. But what goes into that is not just turf and irrigation, but we also include pathways, parking, and we also include restrooms now in that. But then in that development is site improvements, permitting, and some of the permitting requirements that it's just almost impossible to be able to say, hey, we got a piece of ground over here, it's Primrose, it's on Gary Lane, it's gonna cost us, it's 1.5 acres, so 200,000 an acre, that's all it's gonna cost. Well, it didn't cost that, it cost actually almost 450,000 an acre to just green it up. So when we say our rule of thumb is 150 to 2, that particular park, for example, was more than double that. And so we really don't know until we go through all the permitting process with all of our partnerships and stakeholders, and then get it out to bid to somebody on what that cost is gonna be.
So variable.
There's a ton of variances in these, and so I've been real careful in working with our leadership, our city council, when they ask for different types of estimates. I don't want to put Jason in that position. We do the best ballpark we can, but in the end, on this one, I think we weren't too far off. And I know we brought this to the commission, to the committee, on at least one, if not two other occasions, just to keep you in the loop on where we're at with it. So We're finally at a point, we got a bid, Jason just shared with me that by February, groundbreaking is going to, could occur with this contractor. So, you know, we're excited about it. It is a great project that has been about 4 years in the making now. And it started out as a neighborhood investment plan. Do we have a little money that came from that still? Like 70,000, I think there's like 70 or 1,000. So to tell you how far this has come, the original plan was to spend $80,000 at this location.
And Director Holloway, if I could to add, I believe the 70,000 is from Together Treasure Valley for the bus stop that will be included in that area as a partner, is that correct?
Yeah, they're still partnering with us and they're going to install that shelter. Basically, we're gonna do the flat work and then that'll get installed.
And it's a covered shelter bus stop at that location.
Is the 18,000 for the flat work, for the shelter, for the transit shelter?
So that is in the contract, that is gonna be negotiated out of the contract. That's a great question, because basically during the bid process, we were able to work through those details. And so that is actually we're essentially not gonna pay that under the contract because it's not needed, because Together Treasure Valley is gonna come in and have their contractor install it, so that'll be a credit back to the project.
Wow,
I
Madam Chair,
could figure that out.
excuse me, Mr. Chair, we just saved us $18,000, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So I think, Mr. Chairman, Commission members, open for any questions on this. This has been, is projected to be placed on the council agenda next Tuesday as an intergovernmental budget change, or what we refer to as an IBC, so that we can keep the project moving and get this February date. If you were familiar with any of the campaigning going on for this particular district, this was this park was one of the key, see how to word it, one of the key campaign issues that some of the opponents of Councilmember Nash, that he was running against. They used Goddard specifically and a little bit of Spalding Ranch as why isn't it getting done? Why didn't it get done? If I was elected, I'd get this done kind of a thing. So this actually was our little park here got pulled into a middle of a political situation as well during the campaign. So I only bring that up because I think it demonstrates that this was an important
That's one.
to the neighborhood.
Excuse me, Commissioner, you mentioned that we've seen this before, it's been presented, okay. I don't remember.
Director Holloway, I have a question. You guys already put this out to bid then?
Yes.
And you
Yes.
already picked a contractor?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Pryor, yes, and we've got the bid that has come in. It didn't have the contingency attached to it, it's my understanding.
No,
That's why we added the 20%, but it came in at about 1.7.
And who is the contractor? Can you release that information or?
Sure.
yeah, it's,
We still haven't got the contract signed yet by them, so we're working on that right now.
yeah,
Because I don't want you to violate it and non-disclosure.
no, the apparent bidder is Compliance Solutions and Contracting. Yeah, they've done some other work for us.
It doesn't look like there's any crossings of the canal, right?
Just
There-
that what bridge is already.
Yeah. And there's a distinct path on the other side of the canal that is illegal, so are we hoping
It backs up to the houses, right?
hoping to deflect some of that traffic onto this?
Yeah, so Commissioner Raver and Chairman Pengilly, I think and there will be fencing that will be protected, so the canal will be protected from the public as well. And I think the idea is, to really create this safe walkway for people to get from point A to point B, because I do think a lot of that was happening, and the canal company is actually happy that their canal is gonna be safer kind of now from the public as well.
On the other side, you mean?
The
Oh, I
fence
see.
that will be
Yeah,
on the
I
north
get it.
side.
Yeah, I get it.
And then, is it hopeful, safe to say this could be a good test project for future improvements of the canal
Mr. Chair,
walkways?
Commissioner Raver, glad you brought that up, because yes, we hope this will be model that we can use, not only with other future settler arrangements,
Oh, so
but with some of the other irrigation companies to show that, to demonstrate that it can work, they can still have access, they have their indemnification, it's safe, and it works, because there's a lot of opportunity to create connections in a lot of canals, so I'm glad you brought that up, but yes. And then this one is particularly awesome because they donated land to the city.
Yeah.
Which is really.
Kind of shocked.
Rare.
Yeah, it's unusual for that to occur.
Helps the plan even more.
Is Stacy the only one online?
And Tia as well.
Are there any comments from the people online? Questions?
No, I'm okay. Thank you, though. This is a really interesting project.
I'm not a person online, but I just wanted to make sure, is there, I haven't, is there a bike path in here as well? I see that it's a multi-use path, but I just know people do use this area to do commuting next to Capitol, so I'm just curious.
There'll be a bike lane on the road.
Oh, okay, got
Yeah,
it.
so Chairman Pengillian, committee member Bowen, so yes, that it will be a 10-foot wide pathway that will allow access for any type of non-motorized transportation.
So the path itself is 15 wide. There'll be a bike lane along here. I'm sure that's required.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about that. Thank you.
Committee members, I have a question. I was just up there today and it was about 2:20 and there's a lot of traffic on that road. And what is the basis for thinking that people are gonna use that park? I mean, I'm just saying,
And
didn't seem
so-
like a real pleasant place to go for a walk.
You know, I can't imagine anybody sitting there. I thought the same thing.
So I think Chairman Pengillian, committee member Myers, I think that probably at 2:20, a lot of the traffic was high school kids too, kind of coming in and out. I think they get out early. But it is a busy road for sure.
Semis,
What?
semi trucks.
Yes, it is a busy road, and I think truly, I guess in my opinion, I guess what I can share is I feel like that almost creates an even bigger reason to have something like this where people will connect from the neighborhoods, especially when there are destination locations. If you're talking about Hyatt, you know, you may have somebody in this location that wants a safer route to get over to Hyatt, which it makes it totally feasible now. Versus before either going illegally on the canal road or trying to stay on the sidewalk, they're actually gonna be set back from the road farther than they would have been on a sidewalk, so I guess that would be my thought on those.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, committee members, the other piece to this is a very dense neighborhood in that area, all the way over to Maple Grove. And there's no other gathering space in that area. Milwaukee Park is our closest in that area, especially when you head towards Maple Grove. And that's not that is a baseball complex for West and South Boise Little League, so it's really not a opportunity for people to have an area to actually gather in. And so we anticipate, and that neighborhood was very active. They're the original neighborhood that brought forth the neighborhood improvement grant to do this project back 4 years ago. And that's really, they've been a key stakeholder in this. So I guess the feedback I've been getting from the neighborhood, we've been getting from the neighborhood is they're extremely excited about this park going in there, and I anticipate some pretty good usage from from the density of that neighborhood. I'm sorry, Jason,
Yes, I can follow up, Commissioner and committee member, in regard to that, so there's a lot of features kind of within the park that we've added, like some opportunities for seat walls, there's some informal paths, there's some things as well that are gonna add to the experience of this park. But one of the key things that we addressed right on the front end was the safety of this park, and so by adding the additional curbing along Goddard Street and separating this walkout, it's gonna make this a much more comfortable experience to want to walk on that side of the roadway.
Oh, wow.
Any other comments or questions?
Can you blow up a picture of the park up on the screen? Just trying to figure out where the path goes before it goes over Christine. So then the path ends up, does it go onto the, is there a sidewalk right there then, the far left at the top?
Yeah, and Jason, that may be best for you.
Is this sidewalk right here? Jason?
Yes, so that's an existing sidewalk by
Okay.
ACHD, and we're tying into that. And so basically trying to utilize their infrastructure that's in place now, so that we're not incurring additional costs for that. So we do tie into their infrastructure in a couple of places. It allows us to get across Christine, and then we also tie back in along Faircrest to an attached sidewalk condition there. It allows us to do a full pathway, and to really kind of capitalize on what's there and only add where we need to add.
Because on that land there on the corner of Faircrest and stuff, I know there's a Capital Water District pumping station. So is that Water District and then owns that, or Veolia now?
Yes, Commissioner and committee member, that is owned by Capital, and we do have the parcel in between Capital and the canal.
Okay.
Develop that.
Any other discussion? Do we need to vote on a recommendation?
Yeah, Joey, do you wanna pull this? There you go.
I hear a motion to recommend approval. Did you have a question?
Yeah. So I couldn't really read the money part, the breakdown in the packet. It was kind of hard. I thought maybe we would go over that today, or it kind of seems like this is already all done.
Mr. Chair, when you say already done,
What, wasn't there a page that had all of the money and where it was gonna go and all that?
So, Chairman and Committee Member Myers, so yes, the budget, and we needed a solid budget to go out to bid, and that's exactly what came back. So those are the actual bid costs, which makes it better for us to bring you kind of the costs that they say they can do it at, instead of guessing, I guess, to Doug's point earlier. So those numbers are what they can do the work for.
Okay, so 2 million.
They were small, I apologize for that, it was tiny.
So Superintendent, please, has the city council already approved this then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Superintendent, I think you guys already went into a lot of the aspects of why this is so expensive earlier on. But I think when I was first going through the prices, I was, kind of surprised by how expensive it was. Like, I think at one point it said that like a trash can is like $1,000. Is that, it sounds like that's just kind of normal for parks in general at this point, given inflation and, where we're at, but I just kind of wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything on that cost.
Yeah,
well, I would actually, Mr. Chairman, I would defer to Jason's doing all of our
Yeah.
bidding for all of our parks. And so he would be the best to answer the frustration that is out there in the bidding market right now on what everything costs to do projects.
Yeah, Commissioner, committee member, Bowen, yeah, so the cost on this, I mean, really since 2020, that's been consistently escalating, for any level of construction work. And we've seen almost as much as a 20% increase since that time across the board. So that is a very thorough and detailed breakdown that I included in that, and that's how we developed our pricing, which was within 1% of the bid. And for elements like that, for a trash can, we do use a local manufacturer, Kuna Manufacturing, and it's like $600 for a trash can. And then you have to go through the process of installing it into the ground. So it's not uncommon for items to be, for the install labor to be equal or more than the actual item itself. So that was probably a more detailed breakdown than what's necessary, but just illustrating that, a simple trash can cost a wealth of abundance. With the scarcity of labor, the high labor cost, and then the cost of, kind of capital increasing due to interest rates, our bids are really fluctuating a lot, and we felt that was appropriate in this case to actually be able to bring numbers that with a contractor to the table to say, this is what we can do at this price, and so that's why I went through the process.
So if that's really helpful, I can say from the conversations and friends I have in this neighborhood, they're super excited about this project, so I just wanted to double check on the price, because I was like, oh man.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure committee members, yeah, the trash can too is not just like your regular trash can.
Right,
Home Depot. It's like,
Yeah.
like it has a container that the trash can goes inside, and it's actually concrete, and it's actually bolted or welded into place, and so there's more infrastructure to it.
I did want to illustrate one other thing. There was a lot of careful thought put into this. So the main goal that was brought forward to us was to build a path. And so the focus on the biggest expense, one of the bigger items in here is the path itself. And that was really the key to this. And then we've added a few elements that we feel will be really simple and elegant and will also be functional and for us to be able to maintain with a relatively low operating cost. So that all those considerations were put into this, to not just have a stark concrete path that would be really hot and uncomfortable through the majority of the year, but to be able to add some shade and variety to this, that it would be an experience for the neighborhood and something that we can maintain.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm just excited about that. I think from the doors we knocked in that area, a lot of people were concerned about dumping, and so I feel like all these additional amenities will keep people from putting trash on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think I went back to Stacy's question about the shelter. Was there a demand for a shelter? I mean, people want a shelter of some sort? Because that spot right there, I mean, that's a really noisy intersection because you're only about 100 feet from Milwaukee.
Yeah,
That's the thing, is I would just not find that attractive, I would think, sitting there.
yeah, Commissioner and committee member. So essentially, the initial conversations were with Capitol High School that they could actually utilize that, because we do have, a series of gardens there, which is a native plant garden, sensory garden, and we have a pollinator garden all as a part of this. And the idea would be that they could hold a class over there, a botany class, could look at the different variety of plants and experience that. In the hot summer months, obviously a shelter would be totally appropriate. In considerations of that, we've got a very simple functional shelter. I mean, it's basically just a post and a roof that's very simplified, and it'll add some height and some dimension, and will also help it stand out as a feature within the park as you drive by. And I think we've carefully considered choosing a structure that is cost effective, but also achieves our goal of creating opportunity for educational areas within the park itself.
Yeah, Chair and committee members, I just had a quick question about, well, two, I guess, and maybe you were speaking to it earlier and I missed it, but the discussion of the end of it, towards, what is that? Glenwood.
Neighbor Tim's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we could kind of circle back to that, because I think it's pretty critical to the functionality of it being able to connect to the other park. And then also, I just had a question about the fencing and the canal itself. So I know the land was donated, but I just wondered, we're paying for fencing, but it's also a benefit, right, to the canal for safety. I don't know if they're typically unfenced, or I don't know if there was negotiation around, I don't know if that was off the table because they already donated, but I just wanted to kind of, I guess, talk briefly about the fencing piece of it.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, yes, we did have some discussions early on, and it was, if you want to do this, you're paying for a fence kind of a situation, and we anticipate that would be what we're gonna end up doing with any other relationships we have with any of our irrigators, but they're gonna require that of us. And then the first part of your question, that intersection might be one of the worst ones, and in the city, it's like got 3 different streets that come into it, so it's Glenwood, it's Mountain View, it's Goddard, and then a dead end, it goes over to Spalding Ranch. But the Spalding Ranch connection will come through, most likely will come through from the back part of Spalding Ranch next to the Capitol High School, along Milwaukee Park and Capitol, and then out to Milwaukee. And then from Milwaukee, you would come up adjacent to Capitol High School and then cross over to Goddard at the crossing there. And then on the other side, one of the things we have had conversations with is the developer who's building, the apartment complex right above, I'm looking to, yes, right above Fred Meyer, I believe it's David Hales.
Behind it?
Yeah, above, yeah, behind it at that location. There's also a great opportunity to connect that canal behind, what will be between the apartment complex and the actual canal. There's a path opportunity that could take us all the way down to 53rd Street and then on down to Garden City, connect over into the new Expo development that would be occurring by Ada County, and then you're across the river and into the River Club area and back out to City of Boise. So there really is a way to look at this from a broader vision that Goddard, Spalding, that intersection, another connection on the canal and down to Garden City on Chinden, really pieces together really nice and starts putting some of the pathways plan vision into place. And some of these weren't on the original pathways plan, right? These things just come up kind of as we see an opportunity and then we see other connections that could occur.
And I would say, Chairman and committee member, Jason actually reached out to ACHD yesterday prior to our meeting and did speak with them, with kind of what their discussions are in this, and I would love for you to share whatever, we didn't find out a lot of information, but that it's on their radar.
Yeah, what was described to me was that, they're beginning a process this year for, a redesign for that intersection. To kind of alleviate the one that is, closed off now, to make that whole intersection more, safe and secure. Now, what they told me is that it's gonna basically take FY 24 to 26 to get through the design process on that. And then at that point, they don't have a funding source for this, so I would say it's in their pocket, but and they'll be working over the next couple of years to help tie these pieces together.
Because on that east side of Goddard right there, where you're talking about connectivity, there's no sidewalk or anything. It's just the guardrail and that's it.
And I think, committee members, I think it's actually funny, committee member Elliot and I were talking to, that her kids from Capitol used to run down that hill where you're talking about the apartment complex. And I think it's a really neat idea when you pull up and really recognize these connections that while we're talking kind of close by here, it really creates this long, expansive connection where people can safely get through the city to lots of different amenities, so.
That's a clarifying question. So instead of coming through on the track side of Capitol, they would come from Spalding on the backside around the school and come out on Milwaukee and cross Milwaukee. Okay.
And committee members, I do think there's an opportunity to, and we're actually gonna start that planning process in January. I do think there's an opportunity for kind of both exits, if you will, where kids can kind of come from the parking lot in and utilize those sidewalks and also around the Milwaukee Park. So I think there's an opportunity to do both.
Dr. Holloway, you might be able to answer this. When they did the green up on East Boise Avenue from the law east on the south side of it, who paid for all of that? Was that the ACHD or was that the city?
Volunteer property.
Yeah, I think we maintain it.
Okay,
We maintain it.
Yeah, I believe we maintain it. It's mostly a lot of natural grasses in there too, if I'm thinking of the same place you're talking about.
yeah, it kind of varies, goes back and forth.
Yeah, down to the,
From law to Powell Crossing.
yeah, thank you.
So that was different streams of income or different streams that paid for that.
I believe
funds.
so, yeah.
I just wish we could get ACHD to pitch in.
But Mr. Chair and committee members, if we can if we can get something out of the intersection that would create some better connectivity for all the stuff we want to do in that area, that could be a win for us. Right there.
Okay, do I hear a motion to recommend approval?
I make a motion that we recommend the committee move to approve funding of $2,063,718 for the Goddard Road, Leonard Park and Pathway Improvement Project. Do I hear a second?
Second. Thank you. Do we need to vote now? Just verbal. All in favor of this motion? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. To agenda item D, is that correct?
And C really,
Oh, C.
I'll do it really
Yes,
fast.
okay.
Chairman and committee members, the only thing I wanted to point out that we've kind of had come to fruition that I thought was really interesting that I wanted to share with you. You all approved funding for, or recommended approval of funding for our our puncture vine hotspot map. And I just wanted to point out that, we recently, Idaho Conservation Corps has received a really large, $4 million grant where they're gonna do some urban ag work within inside the city. And they're actually gonna be using our hotspot map to send crews out to really identify these spots. And so it's just a really good fruition of things coming together to be able to see a project that we put forward through Boise State. Idaho Conservation Corps is now using that data, and that was the whole idea behind these kind of research-based projects, is that they could be implemented and then used for science-based decisions later. So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was really cool, a cool thing that was coming about, so.
And NPR picked it up.
Yeah, super cool. So that was all I had.
Now, on D, executive session, we are going to have executive session today. Pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206, Section 1C, to acquire an interest in real property which is not owned by a public agency, and Idaho Code 74-206, Section 1F, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agenda to discuss the legal ramifications of legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated, but imminently likely to be litigated.
So we wanna make a motion to. Executive.
And I believe it actually, this is Logan, I think it actually has to be an individual roll call vote as well. So motion and then roll call vote.
So I'd like to make,
Yeah, Madam Chair, our chairman. Excuse me, Mr. Bush.
I know, it makes me giggle.
Yes, gotta get that straight. Every committee I have, it's a different chair. Logan, a question for you. So our chairman made the motion. Is that okay, or does one of the other committee members need to make
He
a
just
motion?
said the language.
Nope. Yeah, reading that motion is sufficient, or reading that is sufficient for a motion. So you just need a second and then a roll call vote.
so your second,
Sorry.
and then Joey,
Yeah.
And Gilly?
here, yes.
Dallas Elliott?
Yes.
Pryor?
Yes.
Myers? Donahue?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Nowaki?
Yes.
Rager?
Yes.
So that time is 4:39.
And you've got everybody off,
Yeah.
and then we'll stop recording.
Okay, yep, Joey.
So now you're getting motion to, can I make a motion?
You can
We have to make a
Yeah,
motion to leave executive session first. Yeah.
I'll second.
roll call vote.
All right, so Ken Gilly?
Yes.
Dallas Elliott?
Yes.
Pryor?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Nowaki?
Yes.
Rager?
Yes.
And then just a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.